different, scary, there'll be development as we go along of all these things. So what you're seeing right now is not necessarily what we go on with the show. There'll be developments that will ensue that I think will be very interesting as we go forward with the skitters, with the Macs, with everything. So.
Well, now, I have a list of things I know you guys aren't supposed to talk about, but, you know, I'm not going to say anything, and they're not going to say anything, and the Twitterverse isn't going to say anything. So, any little spoilers you want to throw out there?
Well, at the very end of the show, when... Hold it. I mean, you know, I think, keep your eyes on the skitters. I think that's an interesting place to be watching, because as the show develops, you're going to be learning more about those creatures. And they start out, I think you think they're one thing at first, and then we'll see what happens.
Ooh, nice, thank you. Don't say anything to anyone. Don't, like, tweet that or, yeah. Okay, so I know you guys are all holding comics in your hands. Now you're going to take those to the booths to get signed, to get pictures, which you're all going to hashtag with Falling Skies so that I can see all your pretty faces. So tell us a little bit about the webcomics and what they have in their hands there.
I will take that one because I had the great honor and pleasure of working with Dark Horse Comics, fantastic people, Scott Alley, the editor, and Paul Tobin, the writer. Couldn't have been more accommodating, helpful, excited, collaborative to work with us on this graphic novel. What you've got is the first 12 pages of it, which is a standalone comic, which kind of tells you some of what happened right after the invasion, what happened to his son Ben, Noah Wiley's son, and you know how they kind of came together as the Massachusetts militia. And then what we're doing in the webcomics, which are published every 2 weeks or so on TNT.TV, and they're also on the Dark Horse website, every 4 pages tells another little bit of the story. We're introducing characters, we're kind of filling in the blanks. You get to see how the people are coming together. We learn a lot more about Captain Weaver, who you saw in those first few minutes, and also about the relationships that are building, about Karen, who you saw running around with a gun with Drew in that other clip. And what we're doing is building towards the end of what will eventually be a complete graphic novel that I believe is being published this summer. And you'll be able to read the whole thing and get to the very end of that novel and feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen now that they're in this moment in this mission and that, you know, things are coming in on them. And then you can put it down and you'll feel like a commercial break has passed and you're going to open up on that teaser that you just saw. So it was really fun to get through that experience with them. And it's really fun for me as a big time geek to be like, oh my God, it's a comic book. I mean, it was almost like more exciting, not more exciting than the show, but I mean, a special kind of thrill. I grew up reading comic books, and I probably, thanks to my brother who's here, Tim, shout out for, you know, all the DC and Marvel stuff we read as kids. But it was like, oh my God, this is a panel, and I can say, Drew needs to be taller in this panel. You know, if you look at the show, that he's not actually, he's almost as tall as Tom, and he needs to be, you know, we would talk about continuity, we talk about some of the graphic choices, but really, they took it to a whole level that I never expected. It's been fabulous.
I love that you're a geek. That makes me happy. All right, so talk a little bit more about, is there anything you can reveal about the teens and why they're the ones that are being taken? Those look like no faces.
Now, there is an age range that the aliens are interested in.
Right.
Teens.
Can we ask if Hal is a possible candidate?
He's always going to be a target because he's the right age. So he's always in danger. You know, any of those young people from about 12 through 18 is what they're interested in.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we're ready to take some audience questions. All right, go ahead.
Yes, my question's for the writers. A lot of the best science fiction comments on things that happen in modern society, so I was wondering if you guys could comment on what any allegorical elements to the show are, or if they exist in the show.
Okay. Originally, the show was titled Concord, for the Battle of Lexington and Concord, kind of an American Revolution, you know, nod. Because in that area, with all the struggle for independence and the way that the common people rose up and kind of became great, or were forced into these really monumental acts just out of necessity. That was one thing that I think really spoke to Robert Rodat and Spielberg in coming up with the idea for the show. And Tom Mason's a history professor. He talks about history at certain points, but he's had to put down the history book and pick up a gun kind of thing. Somewhat like in Saving Private Ryan, you know, common men called into these roles of combat or survival. And I think in that sense, we would like to feel like it comments on any time period, whether it's the Revolution era now, where people feel like things are happening that are bigger than me, but I need to play a part.
Okay, next question. Yell really loud.
The question would be, what was the largest challenge that you had in creating this post-apocalyptic world that the characters have to inhabit outside of the alien aspect?
Well, it was complicated all the way around. I mean, it is a world without communications, and so just from a story standpoint, we're having to bridge gaps that we couldn't do with a telephone call. But in terms of production design, we had an amazing production designer out in Toronto, which is where we shot this. And I can't, actually, it's kind of hard to believe the things they were able to accomplish. That scene you just saw with all the rubble and stuff, we brought all that in. It was just a major team effort to try to recreate this world or create a world that's been devastated by an alien invasion 6 months later. It was a challenge every day. It's a very complicated show to do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the premises is that there is an electromagnetic pulse released right at the moment that the aliens attack. They refer to it in the cartoons, I mean, the children's drawings, but all of the things that had transistors or any kind of digital component, electricity, there's none of that. So anytime they've got like a light source, they have to figure out, oh, is it a flashlight? Is it candle? Is it a fire? Is it the moon? And anything that is pre-transistor, they've got to kind of jury rig and figure out a way to do without or make some kind of contraption to do the same thing.
Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm going to ask about the production and how it was first produced and stuff. Was the comic books, sorry. What, did you like the comic book and then you produced the show, or was it pitched to you? Or something like that? Do you know?
Well, we did the comic book concurrent with writing the show. So we did the sort of prequel then as we were actually writing the show. The pilot itself was done a year ago. Then actual production on the other 9 hours took place last summer, fall.
So the idea came from someone and then it just became a show, right?
Well, Robert Rodat and Steven Spielberg got together and wrote the pilot, came up with the pilot.
Okay. Yeah. Just one last question. How much was the budget for the show? The CGI looked awesome, so I'm just curious.
Enough.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I actually have a question about the decision to set this 6 months after an invasion and not do the invasion itself.
Well, I think we really wanted to do a different take on an invasion show. There have been other movies, obviously there's Battle LA out right now. There's invasion shows and movies that have been coming out for quite a while. I think it's interesting to walk into these characters 6 months in because the shock has gone away and they're trying to acclimate and trying to find out how they can hold on to those things that make them human. They've, in other words, been able to get over the shock, and now they're able to focus on how do we live with this, how do we figure out a way to fight this. And it feels like a different sort of tone than the sort of ongoing just, oh my God, they're attacking beginning invasion story. Although there is a lot of, oh my God, they're attacking in the show. So.
Is there any chance we'll see flashbacks to the actual invasion?
No, not really. No. One of our mandates actually was no flashbacks. They didn't want this to be another Lost. We were doing a different thing, and we're very excited about the new thing we're doing. But we also didn't want to do the big invasion spectacle because that's been done before, and Spielberg himself has done it before. And so I felt like I got the sense that he thought, oh, I've been there. Let's do the 6 months out storytelling.
I think season 8 will have flashbacks. Being optimistic.
Well, I'm really curious too about the early reveal of the aliens. There's no like, oh, you only see their foot or you only see the corner of their head. So talk about that and showing them so clearly so early on.
Well, I think we just never felt we wanted to be coy about the aliens, about the skitters and the mechs. I mean, they are the threat, and there's no reason for them to hide from us. As you can tell from what you've seen, they're an overwhelming force. So there was no reason to hide it, and of course that creates production challenges for the skitters, who are a combination of CGI creature and real creature and all sorts of creatures. So, but they're fun to. Well, as you'll see, actually, as the show goes, you'll see we actually do a lot with those creatures too. So we didn't want to hide them; they're fun.
I have to say, as a science fiction fan, I was thrilled. I got to see the pilot, and I was interviewing for the job. You know, they call you in the DreamWorks conference room, and they pull down the shades, and they give you a cup of coffee, like, we'll be back in 45 minutes, you know. And so you get to watch the pilot, and it was like so fun that I forgot my coffee, and Noah Wiley's like scrambling around shooting at aliens, and I was like, this is everything I hoped it would be and more, you know. As a fan, I'm really glad that they made that choice. I think it was smart, personally.
So Drew, talk a little bit about your first reaction to the aliens and, you know, how much you get to work with CGI and actual physical.
I had no idea what they looked like for the longest time. So we just kind of like imagined what they would be. And then slowly, like early renderings would come out and then they sort of changed just a little bit. But I guess when it really sank in was when we had an actual guy dressed up in a suit and we're having to like grapple with him basically. So I mean, I would have to fight a skidder, literally, and like it would hit you in the face because he can't see out of this thing, and it was a great time. You don't have to act much; you just have to survive.
You could outlast him because he could only last like half an hour in the suit, and then he'd faint because it was too hot.
They had like a little oxygen.
Yeah, they had the oxygen, and it wasn't half an hour; it was like 2 takes.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about the design of the skidders, because something I noticed is they have more than 2 legs. The mechs have 2 legs.
That is very true. Again, I think in the design phase, Steven Spielberg, I think, wanted something just very different. And so I think they have 6 legs. Strange tusks, I think.
Yeah,
They
I
are.
like that.
Yeah. Mandibles, I guess. They are practical. There's a reason for their design. You know, so you'll come to learn that as we go along. But I think he just wants something very alien. So that was one of the reasons. Just, you know, sometimes cool is the reason.
Cool is the reason. That might be the quote of WonderCon.
Yeah.
All right, so Drew, tell us a little bit more about Hal. Go a little deeper, because I know the next clip has you in it.
Yes, the next clip, throughout the first episode, the pilot episode, Hal interacts with 2 different girls, and you're not sure how involved he is with either one of them, or if either one of them is anything to him. And in this next clip, you're going to see that one girl is a little closer to his heart. And this was actually the first scene that I shot when we went to shoot the series, when we got picked up. So this was day 1 right here.
All right, so I guess we're going to take a look at the next clip.